Ammo is crazy expensive and hard to find, and dry fire is life. I use the Mantis X10 to keep my handgun skills strong, and it makes dry practice fun and challenging. Check it out at the link below.
Hey guys, Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant. Welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra, and today is Dry Fire Mondays, brought to you by Mantis X. We're going to talk about the position of the support hand and how it can improve your draw, how it can improve your shooting. A lot of people talk about the grip that's necessary with the support hand, and I'm 100% behind that. I think it's really important. But also there's a timing issue. The sooner we get the support hand on the gun and two-handed shooting, the more we get the benefit of using both hands. But what I see on the line a lot is as people draw faster and faster, they end up chasing the gun and their hand doesn't come on until the very last part of the draw. And that means you're going to knock your sights off the target, you're going to have an earthquake, and you're going to have to kind of reset everything. So we want to get out of that habit. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. Okay, gun's empty, and I got some dummy rounds in it. Okay, so if I had a really good draw from here, but my support hand doesn't have a clearly defined role, what happens is this: I draw, I get the gun out, and then my hand comes on the gun right about here, and then I got to fix everything that just happened. And that's really not the way for us to do. Okay, so how do we improve the support hand? The support hand doesn't have a clearly defined role. The primary hand gets to draw by itself constantly. Nobody sits here and practices just this hand doing its motion by itself. So maybe we need to change that. What we have to do is break things down into parts, then we need to do the combinations of it, and then we need to do the whole thing together. Remember, when your hands marry, from there to the time the shot is fired is a very short space. And several things are happening. I married the hands, I've decided to fire, finger goes to the trigger, I clean up the sights. If it's a time to shoot, I shoot. If not, I clean it up a little bit more and then I shoot, which is about 0.2 seconds difference in that time. So a lot of things happening from right here to right here, and they all have to be really well defined. We don't want one to be out of sequence. So what we want to do is practice not chasing the gun down. Okay? What happens is people draw their shirt to their chin in the idea that this will help them. The higher they draw the shirt, the easier it will to be able to get the gun without fouling. That makes a lot of sense until you watch how the shirt returns. Now watch what happens when I pull it up really high. It returns very quickly. It's elastic by nature. Now watch when I just pull it up a little bit. It comes down slower. So it's one of those things that's a little counterintuitive. You'd think pulling it up to here would be better for you. And what happens is you pull it up to here, you grip it, and now your gun's on the path to the target, and you got to go get a hold of that gun. It's going to be late to the party almost every time. So we just want to move the shirt out of the way enough. Just a little bit enough. All right. And what that looks like is I go and find my index here, maybe my belly button, something proprioceptive on your own body that you can touch at will. The problem with shirts is they all have different lengths, so it's hard to go to the end of the shirt. If you have a longer shirt, it may not work for you as well. So what we need to do is I'm just going to grab right where my belly button is. Kudos to Scott Jelinski on that one. That's his bit of information. I move the elbow out, and all I do is move the elbow. Now the gun is clear. Simply can go get it. We're going to practice to the marry position. This is my starting position. Every draw really starts here. The rest are hand movements to get to here. This is where I want to be fantastic, because whether I have a hands up, hands down, whether I was on the phone, whether I was using pepper spray, whether I was moving somebody out of the way, I'm going to get to this position if I get both hands on the gun. So let's go to the marry. What happens is I'm going to push down on the gun just a little bit and drive the gun back up, and then make sure both hands get onto the gun. What I want to do is relax my shoulders, and I want to bring the hands together in a natural motion. Another thing Scott said is grinding the hands together. I really like that idea. You know, we're built like cogs. We have opposing muscle groups. So what we do is we lock joints together to create posture. The ankles flex back, the knee flex forward, the knees flex back, the hips flex forward, shoulders roll back, the head rolls up, and then we have a really locked position. So same thing, when I marry the hands here, I want to grind them together and lock them together. A lot of people teach from the end of the gun, and what they end up doing is putting their hand in this position, and they say this is how your hand should look. And it makes perfect sense when you start at the end of the technique. The problem with it is this. If we were doing jiu-jitsu, I would call this a wrist lock. what I've done is put myself so far out it's starting to hyperextend my elbow. And when I see with people that overdo this, and I'm only talking about degrees here, I'm not talking about not bending your wrist, but I'm talking about not doing it to here, it tends to hyperextend the elbow and press it out. And then instead of gliding to a stop, they jam it out there and let their joint stop it. Creates a lot of problems for the elbows like tendonitis. So where would I want my wrist to be in the best position? Well, it's going to depend how you're built. But when my hands marry, if I simply take the gun out of it, look how little my wrist is bent. All right? And interesting enough for me, it's just like the way I punch. So if I was punching, I'm in the same position. Whether you do vertical or horizontal punch doesn't make a bit of difference as long as you hit hard. All right? But if I put that on the gun, it's in a natural position there. And then as I drive it out, I have some lift on the gun. I have some control with the gun. So that may help you quite a bit. That little bit there is not rolling that wrist super hard so it goes into your elbows and your shoulders. And this makes a firm connection to the gun early. So now when I draw the gun, I'm really connected right here. Since this is a compressed fighting position, it's not a ready position because it wouldn't be a ready position if I'm pointing a gun at somebody. Right now I'm pointing the gun at that person. So it can't be a ready position, it's a fighting position. This is the strongest two-handed position of control that I have. All right? And I want both hands on there connected to the gun as soon as possible. That way, as I drive out and I decide to move my finger to the trigger, see the sights, and there's only two things going to happen since I've made the decision to shoot, is I'm going to clean up the sights or I'm going to press the shot off. All right? And that's about 0.2 seconds, that decision. We've done a part of it. Now let's start doing it as a combination. So we started here to marry. Okay? Now what we need to do is practice moving the clearance. So say I like to start from the hands up position. You should practice both. You don't get a choice in life. You need to practice all the hand positions. Don't argue one or the other. They're both important. Hands up, hands down. So I'm going to start from right here instead. Okay, I'm going to go find where my shirt is, not the hem of my shirt, but where my shirt is, and I'm going to do this and practice marrying the gun together. Now, I'm looking down because I want to visually confirm this. You know, a lot of people think they're visual learners. Some people think they're kinesthetic. Some people think they're audio learners. You're really all. But the problem is you favor one above the others. And what we want to do is whatever system's not working, so right now I'm primarily in feeling and not seeing, I'm going to go ahead and look to see what's going on. That gives me a double confirmation of improvement. So right here I confirm what I felt. I have a good grip on the gun. Now the reverse is true at the end of the draw stroke. Okay? Right here I see that everything's lined up, but I also want to feel that everything's lined up, and that'll give us a kinesthetic feedback. So now I'm using two systems to correct myself instead of favoring one above the other. Here's your combination. You've got it here, the hands here, hands come together. Should be able to do that without thinking. Now, if I was doing the cheater pose, my hands are down in a position, I've grabbed the shirt hem, and I didn't want to draw attention to myself, be the same thing. I move, hands marry. So I'm getting that down. I'm really starting to get a good grip as soon as I can on it. All right? Now we're going to do the whole thing. So what I need to practice here is this. I need to clearly define that because this is where I see most gun draws fail, is going to clear the cover garment. All right. If I had it on my side, my hand would sweep it open if I had an open vest. If not, I'm going to go over here and get it out of position, and then my hands come together in the same position. So if you're strong side only, same thing happens. You're going to bring your hands up and get them together in the same position. So don't think that's too much difference. I'm about 1:30, about 3 o'clock. It's almost the same draw. I just skip a little portion of this to already being to the center line. So move the gun, go get it, marry it. All right. Clear the cover garment, go get the gun, marry it. So that'll be the same for you. From here, and as I push down, draw up. Okay? Once again, and that's my combination now. Now I need to put the whole thing together and see how it works. So I get my timer out. What I do is this. Okay? Good sight picture, good movement, good connection to the gun. I stayed involved the whole time, so it's a pretty good movement. What I'm trying to build in my draw is trustworthiness. That's what I talk about in class. Your draw has to be trustworthy. If you have a friend or somebody in your life that's trustworthy, you know you can count on them to be there all the time. And for the armed citizen, the draw is the essential technique that we're going to have to get the gun out quickly from concealment. Problem that I see in classes is people don't like to work from concealment. It's much harder. It'd be much easier to either use our gamer rigs, our IDPA and our USPSA gamer rigs. Even though IDPA is from concealment, a starched vest is probably not the way you walk around every day. So you've got to practice the way you dress, and it has to be trustworthy. Almost all the problems start about right here, and it's all about the support hand. If I don't clear the garment out, my support hands failed me. So I want you to really visualize the connection to the support hand and how it's going to work each time so I can get to the gun. Once we get to here and the gun's cleared, everything's good. Occasionally people don't quite clear it enough, or they flag their thumb up and they get caught. All right, you got to work through it, because that's what you've been dealt. Try to avoid that in practice, and practice here so you get that shirt out of the way. I see this mostly with the high ones, because if you look, it gets back to the gun, especially with the optic on it, really quick. So don't draw that shirt too high. Build that trustworthy draw, work on it, make the connection, spend a lot of time thinking about how your left hand really works on this and its timing and connection to the gun. You're going to see a tremendous improvement on your draw. Get your Mantis X, get your holster draw analysis, and then you of course want to work on the speed, but also what you start wanting to do is call your shots. So when you're working under speed, you should set up a target that's general, because it's a speed-based drill. It's not an accuracy-based drill. Don't combine the two. We're going to go for speed, so I would say anywhere, in this big circle is fine with me. I'm working on speed, or maybe the milk bottle. It doesn't matter. But I want to see the sights in that area. So as I work on speed and I get the gun out, all right, sights were right on the camera. Everything's good. Fingers touching the trigger. And I'm going to work it in reverse. Remember, this is the greatest way to build your draw is in reverse, because right now you're seeing the timing of everything you just did. Drew from here. Now I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to put the gun away. I'm going to keep my connection to that. I'm going to put the hands back up, and off I go. And now I'm getting true draws every time. Let's see if that doesn't help you guys. That backwards draw is the essential to this. So break it down in parts, make a combination, work the whole thing, practice on the support hand. You're going to find a big difference with this. All right, guys, that's your information today. Get a Mantis X if you have it. They're really, really useful. The holster draw analysis alone is worth it, because that's the only one that can actually give you meeting at par time and dry fire. Because when you press the trigger, it measures that time. I found that I don't measure time as well as I thought I did, hence the reason we all need timers. Okay? Even setting a par time, it's really hard to tell if I beat the beeper sometimes, because I'm so engrossed in what I'm doing. So get on that. This is Active Self-Protection Extra. Please subscribe. Please leave a like. Please leave a comment. Interact. I love to interact with you guys, and it helps us tremendously. I'm trying to put good information out for you always, and the only goal is for you to get better. Take what you need from this, measure it, refine it, and then perform, and you're going to find a path to success. Every day, do a little bit of work, 5 minutes, and you'll have a big difference in this. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant, and that's your Dry Fire Monday.